All right. Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 7th, 2022. This is a regular time and place for a meeting of the Kings County Board of Supervisors. We continue to deal with issues arising from COVID-19, so the board continues to use the WebEx teleconferencing format. So whether you joined us on the web or through the teleconferencing option, we thank you for your participation. Make sure we have your name on the WebEx. Also, those on the web can use the raise your hand feature and then wait to be recognized under public comment, and public comments are limited to 2 minutes. Members of the audience who have filled out speaker cards will be called up by the clerk in the order they're received. And we thank you for also addressing the board under that. Each vote today will be verbal or a voice vote so that the members of the public can hear how each board member votes. And so after we have a motion and a second on each item we're taking up today, there will be a roll call vote by district. So with that, in order to establish quorum, I'm going to now ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley is absent. Doug Verboon.
Here.
Craig Peterson is absent, sorry. And Richard Fagundes.
Here. Let the record show we have 3 members present, 2 absent. We have established a quorum. So with that, I'm going to invite Pastor Sylvia from Koinonia Church forward to deliver the invocation this morning. And then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. Thank you for the invitation. We could just bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you, thanking you for this great community that we live in. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day, and I want to share with those in attendance 2 Chronicles 16:9. For the eyes of the Lord roam throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. Lord, we pray that when you look down upon the leaders in this room and the citizens in this room, you find people who are fully committed to you. And that is where we put our strength, God, for the concerns of this community, which range from safety to the economy to water for our land. Lord, we put those things in your hands. We ask for your favor, God, in those areas. We ask that you would impart wisdom to this body of elected officials, the staff that support them, and the citizens that support this community. We just ask for favor, God, in all the decisions that are made today of the issues before us, the issues in this county. Lord, we put our trust in you, and we just thank you in advance for all that you will do. And everyone said, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sylvia. And now join me as we honor America by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. The next item is unscheduled appearances. Any person may directly address the board at this time on any item on the agenda or any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. 2 minutes are allowed for each item. Madam Clerk, do you have a record of anyone that would like to give?
I do not have any written testimony, but I do have a speaker card from Rebecca Bell.
Very good. Good morning, Rebecca. Thank you for joining us today.
3 different issues. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet. The basic. SEIU 2015. I was speaking to Ulysses, and he said that there might have been an agreement. So I was hoping to see him today, but maybe they figured that something came up, so they didn't have to come today. But anyway, and in regards to pets, I know. I'm passionate about it. It's mainly because I just recently come across some information is that somebody is poisoning cats. It's actually located on Kauai in Grangeville area. It's the neighborhood behind the fire department. So it's some sick little, I'm going to keep it G-rated. So, so it's just more, I don't know what's going to happen. If anybody can do something about it, if it was be more the police department or if it's going to be part of animal control, but I'm going to contact them, but that's pretty sick. So sometimes people, they upgrade and it's not a pretty picture. So there's still more of the cat colonies. Honestly, it's not the public's responsibility to take care of somebody else's cats to help control the pet population. It should be more on the owners. there are laws and regulations that tell the owners that they do have to pay to have, I mean, they have to fix and they should be fined. And there is a fine out there and we should be implementing it because it's not fair to the public to have to take responsibility to help control the pet population. They should be taking care of their own fur babies. Okay, if they really cared about them, they would do it. And I actually had one person tell me, I wanted my pet to have what it's like to have motherhood. I'm like scratching my head on that one. It's like, unless you plan on taking care of her entire colony, then go for it. But realistically, they're going to be given out and gone to somebody else. And, you know, and you can't be responsible beyond what you know what's going on. But like I said, and it's up to $4,000 for one cat. If you were to do one, so it shouldn't be the public's expenses. So when the budget comes in July, please, 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 at least listen to Samantha over at the animal shelter when they ask for the 6 figures that they need to find that building. They found the building. They just need the funding to have that, to where they can do more TNRing and more vets. So thank you.
Very good, thanks.
That's all the speaker cards that I have. Oh, I apologize.
Yes, good morning. Keith Fagundes, District Attorney. I wanted to update the board since there weren't a long line of speakers on a significant jury verdict or court trial verdict that we got last week of guilty on a first-degree special circumstance murder case that Hanford PD investigated and our office also participated in. And she was found guilty of murdering Kenneth Coyle. And that sentencing will be coming up on July 1st, I believe. And she should be receiving a life without parole sentence based upon the special search, but the discretion is within the court's power. So I haven't been up in a while to update you on our trial verdicts, but we've received numerous trial verdicts of guilty in the last few months. And, you know, I congratulate Kevin Sisney for taking on the case. Judge DeMariah has had the case for several years. She was advanced to the bench, and then Kevin Sisney took it over shortly before trial. So I wanted to congratulate him and all of our staff and the Hanford Police Department for their excellent work on the investigation. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thanks for the update. Madam Clerk, do you have any, I don't see any hands raised. Do you have any other notifications of speakers?
I do not.
With that, last call for members inside chambers. See no one come forward. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the reporting out of closed session that was held 2 weeks ago on May 24th. And Mr. Hill, would you like to, or?
I'll actually
Diane?
handle that.
Okay, Diane.
There were no matters to report out from closed session last week.
Okay, very good. With that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from that meeting on May 24th. Have members had an opportunity to review the minutes?
No question, comment, move for approval.
Second. Moved by Fagundes, seconded by Verboen. Thank you very much. Any additional discussion? Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
I apologize. Craig Peterson is absent. Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Let the record show the minutes stand approved, 3 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. All items under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted by one motion. At the request of any board member, any item may be removed and made part of the regular agenda. There are multiple items under the consent item, or well, there's 3 items from 3 different departments. Does the board have any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Moved by Verboen, seconded by Fagundes. Additional questions or comments?
I did promise Chris I was going to pull the item and discuss it, but I'll give him a pass this year.
Probably a good deal.
Yeah.
With no other questions or comments, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboen,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yeah.
Let the record show the consent calendar stands approved, 3 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you very much. Moving to regular agenda items. First item comes from Human Services and consider adopting a resolution proclaiming June 2022 as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month. And Assam and Bobby and Keith. And we have a lot of people coming up.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, board members, Board of Supervisors. It's my pleasure to be here with the DA office and Commission on Aging to present a resolution proclaiming June as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month. With me here is Jason. He's our program manager and he's going to do some presentation for you right now.
Morning, Jason. Thank you for being here.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. I have, oh, there it is. We have a slideshow coming up that my team put together. As Isam has stated, we'll move to the next slide, Serena. In 2006, the International Network of Prevention of Elder Abuse and the World Health Organization proclaimed June 15th as World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Several counties and states have gotten into celebrating June as for the entire month. Move to the next slide. I have some statistics here from Kings County. The Ombudsman Program, which is run by the Commission on Aging, responded to 230 cases of elder abuse. Those are cases that are in licensed facilities such as skilled nursing facilities. Kings County Adult Protective Services doesn't have the authority to investigate anything inside of a skilled nursing facility or any kind of residential facility. It's done through the Ombudsman or licensing authority. But Kings County Adult Protective Services, investigating any kind of abuse or neglect in the homes of elders, we responded to 737 reports last year. I won't go over all the numbers, but of the 737, here's just a little breakdown of everything. We have self-neglect, abandonment, financial exploitation that is on the rise here in Kings County, throughout the state as well. A lot of financial scams, people calling, sending emails. My team is doing everything they can along with the DA's office and Commission on Aging to try to educate as many people as we can about the recent number of phone scams and just of those sorts. Isolation, a small number here in Kings County. Neglect, physical abuse, psychological or mental abuse, sexual abuse, again, a small number here in Kings County, abduction and hoarding situations. We only had one last year. But those are just a breakdown. Last year, this is just some pictures from last year. Some of the events, I think Keith will go over the events that we got going on for this year. But one of the events we did last year was Adopt a Senior. Each week, the different agencies identified a senior that needed assistance with various items. The first two pictures, you'll see there was an elderly lady over here in Hanford. We were contacted by the Hanford Fire Department. She had some bushes that were sitting underneath the window air conditioners that were dead. They were fire hazards. So a team of, there was like 40 people out there. We spent 2 days. We tore out her bush, but when we were there, we noticed her fence was falling down. She had some other garbage that was just really messing up her backyard, making it hard for her to be able to get out of the house if she needed to. So the team, like I said, we had KCAO, the DA's office, Commission on Aging, my HSA, 40 volunteers or so. We were out there for 2 days and got our yard all nicely cleaned up. We had some plants donated from Lowe's and Home Depot, and we were able to beautify her yard. Second picture there, you have, we were contacted by a gentleman in a wheelchair. I think Commission on Aging was contacted by this gentleman.
Story on
Yeah.
this wheelchair ramp.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one of our Meals on Wheels clients, and he was isolated. He couldn't get out of his house. So he said, his family reached out to us and said he needed a ramp, that he wanted to go outside. So I reached out to Jason, and I think we had all the supplies and everything was donated, and someone actually built the ramp. But anyways, I think probably 6 or 7 months after the ramp was done, he passed away. But he could take himself outside every afternoon by getting this ramp. Okay.
Just to add a little bit too, This gentleman, after the ramp was done, I don't know if Bobby mentioned, but he contacted my office several times and just was very thankful. He hadn't been able to get out of the house and go and do things, although it was short-lived, he ended up passing away shortly after it being done. Those last few months of his life, he really was able to get out and see the community out in Lemoore. And so it was great to be able to participate and do that. Our next slide is just some events that are coming up, but Keith is going to discuss that a little bit more. So we'll skip on to the last slide. This last slide is just for everybody in the audience and yourselves. This is just how you can report adult abuse or elder abuse. We want everybody to be able to know that number. You can go on our website. There's some other ways, Googling it, you'll be able to pull it up. But please, if you suspect anybody being abused or neglected, reach out to the appropriate authorities so that it can be reported. And with that, I'd like to introduce Keith and let him.
Thank you, Jason. So World Elder Abuse Month started back in '06. It is the 17th or 18th year now. But we want to make sure that in this community, it doesn't go just today and just this week or just this month, because our partnership with HSA and Commission on Aging and all of KCAO and so many other community partners last every day, year round, every year. And we've had immense success with that at curbing a lot of elder abuse, but also dependent adult abuse as well. So the network we have in Kings County with all of the partners, including the board and all of your services that you provide with all of our agencies, certainly puts us light years ahead of many other counties in our country for how we treat our elders. Our elders are the last generation these days who actually plan to pay off their home, who plan to have no debt, who care about their community still and are loyal to this community. That's why they're still here. So we should take care of them and reciprocate what they've given us in their later years. And as Jason and Bobby mentioned, in some people's final days, quite frankly, they've given all to this community, and all we can do is get them back out into this community with Adopt a Senior, which is going on this month. We also want to remind folks that you'll be seeing some purple pinwheels popping up and some flag gardens around the community. That is, every agency who's participating with us has offered their space to bring awareness today, this week, this month, this year, to elder abuse and dependent adult abuse. So you'll see the pinwheels for prevention campaign going up. There's also the Adopt a Senior, which Jason mentioned is going on now. If you know a senior, please send into one of our agencies the name, and we will process that and get somebody nominated so we can do some good for a few seniors these days. And then, of course, there will be a free pancake breakfast on June 15th at Commission on Aging, and ongoing every month, the first Wednesday of every month, there is the Commission on Aging food drive for the elderly as well. And they service nearly over 300 recipients each month with that food drive, and they could certainly use any help and volunteers who want to come out and help that food drive, especially in the hotter months of the year. In June 15th marks the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And we will be asking the board to approve that resolution in Kings County between 8 adult protective services and dependent adult issues in our county, Commission on Aging, and all of HSA's work, as well as the district attorney's office work in curbing crime against elders and preventing scams against elders. We're asking that you recognize that there are some first step in prevention that we can all pay attention to. And when you recognize somebody who might be shut in, that senior next door who may or may not be out mowing his yard, offer your help. Go over and be that person. You don't need a county organization to make a difference in somebody's life, especially an elder or a dependent adult. So with that, I would conclude with thanking HSA, ESOM, and Jason, as well as Commission on Aging, Bobby and Julia Patino from our Victim Witness Program, and all the other county organizations who will help us with elder abuse and dependent adult abuse throughout the year, and ask the board to pass the resolution declaring June, and specifically June 15th, as Elder Abuse Awareness Month and Day. And we'll submit. Does she have any questions?
Good, thank you. Bobby, anything?
Yes. Elvis will be on the premises, so that seems to be a big hit. We've received a lot of calls from seniors wanting to know what time. So we invite everyone to come out and enjoy. And also, behavioral health is a part of this too, because anybody help with the funding, that's the main part. So I didn't want to leave them out.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, pancakes, eggs, and Elvis. I don't know. That's,
Peanut
Pretty
butter
good.
pancakes?
huh?
Peanut butter nanner pancakes?
If that's what you want, bring it. We'll cook it.
Well, I think in honor of my elder board members, I'd like to
Thanks for being acknowledged.
adopt a resolution proclaiming June 15th, 2022 as Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Awareness Month. It's nice being a younger one. And I'll look after you guys. Don't worry about it.
Does that mean you're going to show up and help on Wednesday, the 15th?
I say it's 9 till 2, so if I get there at 1:30, I'm good to go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's usually what you do. With that, the item has been moved by Verboen, seconded by Fagundes. Any other discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Absolutely.
I gave my elder board member yesterday a hug.
You did?
He said it was a little tough, but I said good anyway. He needed one.
Let the record show that item stands approved, 3 in favor, 2 absent. And so good luck with those events and projects, and good luck, Bobby. We'll see you.
So don't forget.
Yeah, and I got to bring my wife. So, oh, is that good? No, it's not
Bringing
good.
who?
Huh?
Who's bringing who?
Well, yeah. We'll have
Is he
to work.
older or you older?
Oh, no, I'm a cougar. She's a cougar.
Oh, okay.
I'm cougar
You
bait.
need to be nice to her.
Yeah, exactly. With that, we'll move on to the next item before we get in a whole lot of trouble and have to take another one of those classes. Public Works Department, consider introducing and adopting an urgency ordinance establishing a weight and load limits on an existing bridge. Mitchell, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of your board. Mitchell Cabrera with the Public Works Department. Before your board this morning, as mentioned, to introduce and recommend the introduction and adoption of an urgency ordinance placing weight and load limits on County Bridge number 45C0118. That's the 16th Avenue Bridge over the Tulare Lake Canal. Caltrans, the California Department of Transportation, on November 16th of last year, performed their biannual inspection and noted some deficiencies and concerns they had with the bridge. Following that, February of this year, they filed a structure maintenance and investigations record of critical findings, recommending that the county place weight limits and load restrictions, 20 tons per truck, 31 tons per truck and semi-trailer, 38 tons per truck and full trailer, and no permit loads allowed on the bridge. The Public Works Department reviewed the findings and recommendations by Caltrans, and pursuant to the California Vehicle Code, the county road commissioner was able to set the temporary restrictions for up to 90 days. Roads Division staff also placed the low limit signs on both bridge approaches. Pursuant to the Vehicle Code, your board may reduce by ordinance the weight of the vehicles and loads upon county bridges. Since the original set by the county road commissioner only lasts up to 90 days, by ordinance, your board could place that load and limit restriction. County council helped prepare, review, and get the ordinance documents in place. And if accepted by your board, the ordinance will remain in effect until the bridge is replaced by the current project and design for replacing, hopefully within the next construction phase of 22-23 fiscal year. If your board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns?
This is going to restrict some of the harvest activities from, if you will. Is there a way they can go around it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the nearest bridge, I believe, is on 18th Avenue, crossing the Tulare Lake.
Okay.
18th, and then there should be one at 15th. They could go either way.
Wheat, safflower, and tomatoes coming off now.
And I think there's some garlic down there.
Garlic, okay. So long as they know not to go across it.
Yeah, so the signs have been put in place on both approaches of the bridges. And again, it's only a temporary until our project goes to construction, and then it'll be.
It's going to be tough because they can go across empty, but then,
Right.
and then sometimes you get
I'll
in a habit, or you get into, yeah, and sometimes you don't think.
Are we liable if someone doesn't read the signs?
Diane?
I think having signs posted in the ordinance in place will be a protection against liability.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Moved by Verboen, seconded by Fagundes. Additional questions or comments? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Doug Verboon,
Yes.
Richard Fagundes.
Yes.
Let the record show that item stands approved, 3 in favor, 2 absent. Good luck with that signage and good luck on a season, and hopefully make sure we can have some alternative routes to make sure that we can plug that in. And I don't know how much effort it takes to get into cell phone and some of the electronic mapping to be able to post that online, because there are many drivers today that nobody carries a paper map anymore. It's all by electronic mapping, and I don't know how do you.
Oh, you mean put it on the electronic map to show the bridge out?
Correct.
Yeah. And is there room for them to turn around if they get to it coming full?
No,
No?
that's the bad part. Gonna have to,
Go back to the nearest intersection and put a sign?
yeah,
Okay. Or go real fast?
yeah, or Evel Knievel it. There have been a few, so, but yeah, no, maybe you should look into what it takes to make an electronic mapping.
Yeah, our department can look into it.
Yeah.
If I
Dusty?
can correct,
Yes, no,
I'll get a copy of that ordinance and I'll share it with our membership at Farm Bureau and some of the trucking companies we deal with. We'll get them those details and try
The
to.
scale houses, I know from the field, there's no scale houses, but they do deliver one time. They can at least notice it, wherever you're coming from.
yeah, and unfortunately, like I say, there are so many drivers that just have electronic devices that show them how to get there, and a lot of those routes are put in, so between the dispatchers and sometimes it's not even the growers, the dispatchers are the ones that really control the trucking. So, good luck with that.
Thank you.
The next item, due to a 4/5 requirement, has been pulled. And so that item will come back at a later date, Matt. So thank you very much for that. And we will look forward to seeing that item come back next week or whenever we can establish a 4/5 majority. So with that, that concludes all of the action items of the morning. We'll now move to a study session to talk about the overview of the local homelessness action plan and as required for the homelessness housing assistance and prevention program round 3 applications. Assam and Ed Hill, I think, is going to tag team this project. So good morning and thanks again for being here.
No problem. I gotta apologize. I'm not a public speaker. I'm usually behind the scene kind of guy. So we'll start with you today on the local homeless plan. So if we can start with the first slide. What is it? It's a detailed plan to provide a continuum of homeless services. We were focusing on racial equity. We had to give them certain numbers of what we're trying to accomplish to be able to apply for the HHAP funds. If we meet our goals, the state has said there's going to be an additional $180 billion available, $180 million available for those that meet their goals. So bear that in mind when you see our goals that we set for our local homeless plan. Next slide, please. The eligible use for the funds, we can have case management, rapid rehousing, operation subsidies, and operation subsidies either for rent or creating new units. Next slide. One thing I want to highlight over here is our service coordinations. One of the things is some of our homeless is because of economical reasons. So we've been helping our clients or homeless population to access the workforce. We want to enable them to be able, once they find housing, to continue that housing and not going back to homelessness. So working with JTO and EDC has been a great partnership in doing that. Next slide. They talk about interim shelters, and they limited the interim shelters into developing new clinically enhanced, so case management with those interims is very vital when you create a shelter. New or existing non-congregate shelters or operation of existing navigation centers and shelters. Next slide. So overview for our plan, we have access to $655,918. 306 of them are coming from Kings and Tulare Homeless Alliance. 349,000 of them is directly from HCD. The application has to be submitted by June 30th. We presented to the collaborative already, and we're presenting to you today on June 7th. Next slide, please. When we figured out the numbers, because we had to be precise, what can we do? We looked at the trend. And as you can see, from 2011 till now, our trend has increased by 60%. 2019, we have increased by 22%. Pit count should be coming out soon for this year. I really expect a dip in it. But when we looked at our numbers, we based the trend that's going up, that this is what the numbers we were looking at. We're not looking at the numbers just for this year, but what the trend is going to be in 2024. Next slide. So the goals are set by calculating the trend, applying the trend to baseline in 2020, projecting numbers in 2024, and calculating the goals based on 2024 projections. Next slide. So they set for us 6 goals. We went on those goals and said, quantify how by using the HAF funds, how we're going to help our population. Reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness by 69. This is from the number of 3,908, and this is for bi-counties, us and Tulare. Reduce the number of experienced homelessness on daily basis by 94 to 1,349. 1,572 people access homeless services here in Kings County. Reduce number of first-time homeless by 19, 2,063. In our county, 893 experienced homelessness for the first time. Increased number of people exiting into permanent housing by 52 to 842. This number we should be proud of. In Kings County, 645 people exited homeless into permanent housing. Next slide, please. Reduced length of homelessness time by 44 days to 162 days. Kings County, because of lack of shelter, because of lack of navigation centers, our average days is 405 days of people to move into permanent housing. Reduced number of return to homelessness by 0.03% from 15.53. In our county, 8% return to homelessness, and that's almost half from bi-county. So that's a great number for us too. Increase in successful placement from street outreach by 10 to 140. In ours, 98 people were served through street outreach in Kings County. Next slide, please. The strategies to reach those goals, we're going to use Housing Navigator, working with our landlord, incentivize them to work with our population. Encampment resolution funding, emergency housing vouchers, mainstream vouchers. We work with HUD to make those accessible. Utilize Project Home Key permanent housing. Identify available resources. Train community partners. This is a partnership. Utilize CalAIM and work with providers. And CalAIM provide wonderful case management, helping people get employed and helping people get off any issues they may have, whether it's substance abuse or mental health. Next slide, please. Increased number of outreach workers and reinstate drop-in events. Before COVID, we used to have a monthly drop-in events where homeless people come in and we can count them, give them a haircut, connect them to any other available resources to them. We stopped that since COVID happened. Hopefully we can bring them back. Next slide, please. Our racial equity focus. By counties, we decided we're going to focus on Native American or Alaskan Native. 0.082% of our population are Native American or Alaskan Native, yet 6.73 of them are part of the homeless population. The way we're going to accomplish that is engage the tribal communities through Homeless Collaborative, learn tribal community housing resources, assist tribal communities to realize our homeless management plan and coordinate entry system, and invite tribal representative to all available training. We need to know what they have, they know what we have, and work collaboratively to help that population. And I think that's the last slide. Any questions?
Very good. Some questions, comments, concerns? Anybody in the audience? Rebecca, you have a question or comment? Oh, you want, come up to the mic. I get in trouble if I don't do that. Yeah, it reflects poorly on my evaluation.
Okay, I have a question in regards, because Upholding's got a lot of heat in regards to their permanent housing, and I keep, yeah, I keep fighting with people about this damn thing. I'm like, come on, y'all exhausted everything, you can't stop it, it's here. So how, with helping the homelessness right now, because you got a lot of people bringing me information about how people off the streets are going into this project, but it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Last I thought it was street to help to shelter to temporary housing to permanent housing. Now, how long are they in each stage, assuming that they follow all the rules? I mean, are they in their monthly, yearly, before they advance to the next one and then to the permanent housing?
So let me distinguish between North Star, the one that you're talking about, and what we're doing here. North Star is supposed to be a low-income housing project.
Right,
What we're doing over here is what you described is the cycle that our homeless population go through to assist them to permanent housing. Now, not everybody has to go through what
okay,
you described right now.
okay,
Somebody could be just economically housed,
okay.
economically homeless.
Mhm.
They lost their job, a divorce happened, something, they just need some financial help.
Okay,
Others need extensive case management. Those could take a long time.
Mhm.
Now, with our project Room Key, and I presented something to the collaborative, our average has been between 3 to 4 months for them to move to permanent housing. Now, that doesn't mean
oh,
this is what's going to happen to
right,
each
it's
individual.
case by case.
Yeah, yeah. And we're trying to find a balance between being advocate for our homeless population, but at the same time, be respectful of our community needs and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So there are some responsibilities. We want to be available whenever somebody needs help. But like you said, there are rules and regulations that they have to follow. The story between each individual has their own story and their own journey.
Mhm.
And the great thing about what we're trying to do with the case management is customize that to that person instead of having one size fits all.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's the only way to make it succeed, because you can't, you're right, you can't, I mean, you can't cookie cut it. You can't just set one program for one person and it's not gonna work for the next person, and then you gotta, I understand that cases differ. And then in order to make it work, you need to succeed in it calls compliance. Now, it's just more, you gotta get more of the information out there to people, because I mean, I haven't become this involved with my community in a long time. I really wish I would have done it a long time ago, because maybe I would have known more. But it's, so moving forward, there's still a lot of misinformation going out there, and it's still a lot of heck being raised, especially, I'm not even gonna see how it is when the bulldozer starts coming in to start doing the developing. So, I mean, I'm excited for it.
One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Yeah, huh?
One doesn't have anything to do with the other.
Right, I know, because I just.
A lot of
making sure.
misinformation on that one project, which is just low-income housing,
Mhm.
and a lot of bad information was put out there.
Exactly.
We need to
It's like,
separate that from what his presentation is here today.
I know, that's what we got to make sure that we do, because they
Yeah.
keep trying to associate, well, that is for that particular program, but this is this whole different program.
Right.
This is what it's supposed to do. And you
Completely
got,
different department too.
huh?
Completely different department too. We got HSA and we have behavioral health.
Right. And I mean, it's a whole umbrella. I mean, I didn't realize how much for like behavioral health is up at the top of the umbrella and everything, all the different departments that it goes, because you can't, it goes from the phone call from the individual that needs the help. And then they are given to other departments to help them with that, the advocacy. So based on their particular needs, then they will go to that department, and then that department go to that. And then so it goes from there.
And I think for the public's perspective, you think of homelessness, you think of the tent, you think of the person on the
Mhm.
corner, you think of someone on drugs walking down the street, but there's people experiencing homelessness issues, or people that could be your son or your daughter that can't afford to buy a home, but can't live in your home, or someone just lost their job, that can't make their payment. So there's a different variety of homelessness. I know a lot of families take care of their family members, and some don't have that option here. So we have to look at every case person by person and get them the help they need. Some you can help, some you can't help, some you got to corral, some you can
Right.
push forward.
Yeah, because I mean, there are the single parents that they're barely scraping by, or even just people that are struggling financially and they're barely making ends meet, paycheck to paycheck. And then they go and increase that rent or increase their bills and everything for all of a sudden. And then now they're finding they have to live in a hotel. That's considered homeless because anything over 2 weeks, that's considered homeless. So, and there are many different, and it's just the ignorance and it's so frustrating. Sorry. It's just,
We'll put you in charge of spreading the word.
trust me, I've been doing this since last, I don't know, February. So, I mean, I don't know, just need to get the rally and just need to get like into the media in regards. So I'm trying to maybe get with Dr. Lewis and try to get the advocacy.
He's right behind you.
Huh?
He's right behind you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, I thought you left, I was like.
Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, Dr. Lewis, thank you for joining us this morning, and
Thank you. Lisa Lewis from Behavioral Health. So thank you for what you just said, Supervisor Fagun. I think that's a really important point to make. People who are homeless look very differently. It's very unique. One of the points I wanted to make was in the Behavioral Health Department, one of the ways that we contribute to avoiding homelessness for the folks that we work with is our ACT team provides housing. So we have a large number of folks who are most severely mentally ill, those who have trouble going to outpatient services without extensive amounts of help, people who in the past would have gone into psychiatric hospitals or might have been arrested, will be put on the ACT team, and the ACT team provides housing for them. So that's an area where the Behavioral Health Department helps to prevent homelessness with our particular population as much as we can. So things like Project Room Key were especially helpful to us because they helped us to guide people to the ACT team so that we could then house them. And that was particularly helpful during COVID because there are always occasionally people on the street who simply won't respond no matter how many times we try. And so Project Roomkey was able to house them, surround them with amazing amounts of services. And then a number of those folks were able to engage in services and are currently on our ACT team. So I just wanted to express that. Thank you.
good, thank you.
I got Dr. Lewis's number on speed dial.
Yeah,
This is a collaborative effort. The collaborative is playing a huge role in coordinating all community-based organization, every agency to have a seamless experience for somebody who's experienced Joe is in our board. So any other questions?
yeah. Diane, you have a question or comment?
I don't, but before we close the meeting, I do need to revisit an issue. So I'll let this agenda item close and then we can come back to me.
Is this something I did?
You're always in trouble.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Mr. Hill, anything you want to add to the good of the order?
No, it was covered pretty well. I think one of the things that Hassan pointed out is we do expect the point in time count to come in lower, and that's due to the success of programs, as Dr. Lewis pointed out, like Project Room Key and Project Home Key. So hopefully that trend will continue.
Nissan, a question on, forget what it's called, out there in East Lacey. They're doing the construction on the apartment complex hotel we bought.
Sunrise,
How much longer is, what's it called?
Sunrise.
Sunrise Apartment. So I went by last night and it still looks like 2x4s framed up, there's no sheetrock. How much longer on that project there, do you know?
We finished phase one and phase one became phase one. So right now there's a gap in the budget. I'm hopeful that by 2023 it would be done.
Okay.
But with the rise and increase in construction right now, it seems like we always, there's a shortage and we always have to apply for other funds. I'm expecting it summer 2023.
Okay, so economic impact has affected that as well.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good, appreciate it. Any other questions on the homeless and the phase three? See no one come forward. Diane, do you want to go back and revisit an item then?
Yes, I do. Item 5B, which is Public Works, the urgency ordinance establishing weight and load limits on an existing bridge. It was not specifically noted in the agenda, and but it came to my attention that this, because it's an urgency item, an urgency ordinance actually requires 4/5 approval. The 3-3 vote that we have today is not sufficient to pass it. My recommendation is that we bring it back next week when we have a full quorum for reconsideration. And I apologize for not.
Board members goofing off.
I apologize for not identifying that during the regular discussion.
You know, this is a health and safety issue, so I think, how can I do it without getting in trouble to go ahead and have Public Works go ahead and post the signage?
We can post the signage.
Because I think, because with some harvest operations and some stuff going on, it's probably really not going to start until the 4th of July. So we're probably still a month out. But I would hate to have something happen just because we don't have a.
Wheat and hay are happening right now, so.
Oh, no, exactly. So there's some, yeah.
The tomatoes come off in mid-June and then towards 1st of July and then garlic right after that. So, yeah, I think I see it as a safety issue.
Correct.
And the financial part, we could come back and do that the second time in a week.
This isn't the financial part. It's not a budget transfer. It's because it's an urgency ordinance. We're bypassing the normal provisions where we have a first reading and a second reading and then 30 days before it becomes effective. And because we are doing as an urgency ordinance, for the very reasons that you've stated, it requires a 4/5 vote. And like I said, we didn't properly get that on the agenda, and so it wasn't called out for our attention prior to discussion. It came to my attention after. And my recommendation is that we do put it on for the next calendar as an urgency ordinance again. In the alternative, we could have a first reading today, a second reading next week, but then it wouldn't become effective for 30 days after that. We can keep the signs posted so that there is notice that the bridge is, has weight restrictions. We can keep those signs posted as protection. But the urgency ordinance to be effective requires 4/5 vote.
Yeah, and that ordinance is not going to be permanent. It's going to be temporary until the bridge is replaced. And so I certainly agree with you, but this is not an ordinance that's going to stay on the books. And it'll only probably be available for a year because that bridge is stated to be replaced in 2023. So this would be a urgency for a temporary ordinance. So it's not it wouldn't be a full-time or permanent ordinance in place.
Right.
So, I still think, I think it's very, very real to be able to put it back on the agenda for next week when we do have 4/5, but I think should be go ahead and move forward. And even fire trucks, because I think that's going to be a load limit restriction for, public safety as well. So I think that needs to be a temporary ordinance in place now, pending confirmation next Tuesday.
So what we can do is we will not rescind the vote today.
Correct.
We will let it stand with the 3-3. If, in order to ensure that it's enforceable, we'll bring it back where it can be considered by a majority, by a 4/5 majority of the board.
Yeah, because the only thing that I had, and really, and I made a note, then I didn't come it back, is that this is a temporary ordinance until the structure is replaced. And so I think the ordinance was somewhat weak in that part of it. So I think we probably should shore that up as well.
Okay, all right.
This is a temporary ordinance based on the age and construction of the bridge, and that this ordinance is only going to be associated with that specific. And I was going to ask Dominic or Mitch, I'm not sure the bridge number is based on the structure itself or on the location.
I believe it's the structure itself, but Dominic
Yeah.
could confirm, and we can bring that information back next week. We did identify the specific bridge number when our office
Correct.
helped with the ordinance.
Yeah, so, and again, I don't know if that number is associated with its location or that specific structure, but and so I don't know if that number is going to change or, because the number didn't really, well, I guess that bridge could have been built in 1945, but I think it's, because it is an old timber bridge, so.
I wasn't around.
That was your tromping grounds.
Yeah, but I wasn't around when it
Yeah.
happened.
I wasn't either. Supervisor Fagundes, do you remember that bridge was there in 1945?
Wait a minute.
All right.
All right, so yeah, let's just leave it the way it is. But we will go ahead and have that reinstated for next week's agenda for confirmation.
And if we get
Excellent.
caught, we apologize.
And if we err on the side of safety and then we messed up, but I think we should go ahead and move forward.
That is a prudent course of action.
Very good. With that cleared up, we have completed all the items on the agenda. So now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is board member announcements or reports on their own activities. Supervisor Fagundes.
I took some time last week, went to the coast for a few days and enjoyed that. It was windy as all get out, but I stayed inside and watched it.
Can't beat
And
that.
then we come back, we had the Portuguese celebration this last week. About 2,000 people that we fed and had a good turnout. I think people are wanting to get out and just do more.
Yeah.
You know. It turned out well. I hope it continues. Everything continues with people getting out and enjoying.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Supervisor Verboen?
Yeah, thank you. So, been 2 weeks, so I attended, the Hispanic Chamber Luncheon at the Valley of Grodese, kind of a interaction, meet and greet type deal on, the 25th. And then we had, meetings all that day with LAFCO, and I'm sure you'll touch on that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I had a special meeting with the San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council on that Friday, kind of minor. Then we had, Tuesday this week, we had, King's Economic Development Corporation. Talk about what's going on in our community. A lot of activities happening right now with the Fair Day coming back to life and some of the new job fairs going on. And then in our office potluck, and then I also went to the sheriff's ribbon cutting for his new operations building. Very nice. Chris Com was there. Still needs some more work done on that building. They'll probably bring it back to us here this year, but they cut the corners on some budget stuff to make it get it done. So I think we need to make some improvements on the entrance on both ends of the building, so it's safer when it's wet and cold mornings. And then we went to, I'm sure you'll touch on it, the challenge we have between the two departments, so. And then today's election day, make sure you get out and vote, change the vote, and make your voice heard. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And as Supervisor Verboen talked about, this does cover 2 weeks. Supervisor Fagundes and myself attended the King's Waste and Recycling meeting and approved the 22-23 budget. There were some changes there as things continue to evolve, but and then we also received all of the monthly operations reports, but continues to operate accordingly. Housing Authority also had a monthly meeting, and we approved all of their monthly items as well as some salary changes. LAFCO did meet in the Hanford, and the Hanford Annex Island was annexed into the city limits. Also approved a Lemoore annexation of property into the city of Lemoore, and that's the first annexation we've had in Lemoore in 10 or 12 years. We also approved a service agreement. Most of them are for water. This one happened to be for sewer, to allow a homeowner that was within a certain amount of length to be able to hook on to the collection system. So we approved them to hook on to the wastewater treatment facility of Hanford. And then we also approved that 2022-23 budget for LAFCO. At the CART meeting, we also reviewed and approved the 22-23 budget, and very healthy budget for them. We also received the audit reports of operations and talked a lot about driver shortage. Like all of the other industries, there continues to be shortages of drivers and employees and staff. MV is a strategic partner in that rural transportation, public transportation, and they continue to recruit, retrain, and develop transit drivers. There's usually anywhere from 3 to 5, and it usually takes them 5 to 6 weeks to be able to go from intake to certification. They still have to go to DMV to take the written test, but we do have MV has an individual that can take them on the driving part and and so it's been working out. It's been a great project. Public transportation also launched in June the new Uber service that allows individuals to use their electronic device and find out where the bus is as to when to get on and when to get off and where. They still follow the routes, but it kind of does away with a lot of the timing. And then just to thank the drivers. If you're a public transportation, just thank them because many of them have only taken the bare minimum mandatory days off. A lot of vacations and sick leave has been used up because of exposures and COVID and everything else. So if you get an opportunity, advise our drivers. At the Association of Governments meeting, we also held unmet transit needs and reviewed the population and housing estimates. The county population, 152,023, was a drop of about 520 people from the 2021 estimates. And we also approved the legal counsel term extension and then had some time to review the governor's transportation budget with the state having a healthy budget. There's a lot of dollars floating around there. The Kings Tulare Master Plan for Aging kicked off on May 26th, and we're going to spend the next year addressing challenges of older populations and try to zero in on 3 or 4 of the top ones. The governor kicked this off before COVID in about 2019 with 10 different main objectives, and we're going to try to get that down to 3 or 4 and see if we can't focus on get them done. Kings County Fire Department had a badge pinning at the Armona Station, number 5. 6 new firefighters entered into the system. Congratulations, Chief. And I think that now you're only about 5 or 6 short. So, but we're closing that gap and thank you for that. West Hills College graduation was on May 27th. It was very, very well attended. This was a milestone for many of the lives of students. Granddaughter walked the line on that event, and then the next Friday on June 3rd became an alumni of LeGrand High School. We also had granddaughter Bailey graduate from Chico State, and grandson Nathan graduated from Giles High School in Virginia. So a lot of graduations and graduation parties and everything else. Portuguese celebration started out in Stratford, first one held since 2019, and marked my 50th year working at the event. As a graduating 8th grader in 1972, I was mowing the lawn and sweeping the floors and mopping, and 5 decades later, I'm still mowing the lawn, watering the plants and mopping the floors. So, worked out very good. Memorial Day service at Grangeville was the 30th annual Avenue of Flags. 1,020 flags posted. There were 3, Tony Barba, Steve Driver, and Archie Yarborough were part of the 14 new flags that were added this year. And a special thanks to the Marine League Detachment 455. Calviva public policy meeting was held in Fresno, received all of the monthly updates on operations. And June is dairy month, so I took ice cream and I didn't bring any back, so it must have been good. So it was worked out very good, ice cream sandwiches and stuff. City County coordinating, first time we met in quite a while, met in Corcoran. Nice food, nice event. We certainly want to thank Ed for giving the update for the county and everyone that attended that event. Lemoore High School graduation and sober graduation party was held at Lemoore High, and again, at a very, very nice event. We figured out 4 different ways to cook tortillas. So we made soft tacos, hard tacos, costillas, and tortilla chips because some of them got pretty crunchy. So yeah, so we had figured out a way how to fix tortillas in 3 or 4 different operations. Yeah. Exactly. So we shouldn't have thrown very many away. They were all tortilla chips at the least. American Legion breakfast took place and continues to meet on Fridays. South Fork Kings Finance, we continue to work on the budget for the 2022-23. The 218 election is coming up, so we're discussing and trying to figure out how to pursue funding operations for the South Fork Kings Groundwater Sustainability Agency in the next 5 or 6 year period. As Supervisor Verboen talked about, the walking contest between child support and economic development was a great event. Took the whole month of May. Over 10 million steps were taken by staffing during the month of May. 39 total staff members. Child support had 21 members, or 21 participants, averaging 242,000 steps per month, or an average of 7,678. Job training had 15 participants, had over 280,000 steps per month, or a daily average per person of 9,062. So congratulations to job training, but need to really congratulate both departments because that is an outstanding event for both departments, and certainly want to thank them. And they celebrated with breakfast burritos, and we'll probably should take ice cream to that event one of these days too, but we'll work on that. They work so hard to make sure to take the steps off, and then we
Put them all.
put them back on with, one breakfast burrito. The Kings Lions Club held their Brew Fest in 2022 in Lemoore. It was a nice evening, good music. Everyone did a great job. The Pops concert in the park had Elvis songs, Journey, along with some concert music and at the lawn of the Hanford Civic, and another great event. The Pops concert has been somewhat of a tradition in the 58 or years so of the King's Symphony Orchestra. King's Fair starts on Thursday, so if you want to go out and get some heat, see the animals and see the events, that starts Thursday through Sunday. Weather Watch is on board, so they're predicting some hot weather, 106 or so on Friday, Saturday, and then a drop hopefully on Sunday. So watch the weather, drink plenty of fluids. I see Jim Castleman here. Thank you for being here. Did a great job on Thursday night markets as well as the Brewfest. Your wisdom, knowledge, and experience is always greatly appreciated. So thank you for doing that and being a part of many organizations that do a lot of great things in the community. With that, a lot of stuff going on. Mr. Hill, you want to talk about board correspondence, upcoming events, and future agenda items?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For board correspondence, your board received a comment period for a notice of intent to adopt a mitigated negative declaration on conditional use permit number 2106. That's Sandridge Partners LP. You also received a notice for agenda for Central Valley Regional Water Control Board scheduled to be held Thursday, June 9th at 8 a.m. and Friday, June 10th at 10:30 a.m. The meeting will be held both in person and virtually. For upcoming events, there's a family member support group hosted by Kings County Behavioral Health that will take place today from 5:30 to 7:30. Support will be provided to families and others. A light meal will be provided together with entrepreneurial services upon request. That will be held at 460 Kings County Drive, Suite 101 in Hanford. There will be a free smog repair event at West Hills College located at 555 College Avenue in Lemoore at parking lot A near Golden Eagle Arena. The event will take place on Saturday, June 11th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. If your car fails a smog test, you'll receive a $500 voucher to use at a local smog shop for smog-related repairs. Vehicle replacement for 2006 and older cars will also be available at the event. Gates may open at about 6:30 a.m. No diesel vehicles, please, and expect at least a 2-hour wait or maybe longer. The Children's Storybook Garden Museum will be hosting Dinosaur Day on Saturday, June 11th from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. The event will be located at 175 East 10th Street in Hanford. There will be game activity, fossil making, photos with the dinosaurs, and races on bouncy dinosaurs. Tickets are $12 for non-member children and $5 for non-member adults. The event is free for members. As mentioned by Supervisor Neves, the 75th Annual King's Fair kicks off this Thursday through the 12th, located at 801 South 10th Avenue in Hanford. The Children's Storybook Garden Museum will be hosting a leadership summer camp from June 14th through July 2nd. The event is again located at 175 East 10th Street in Hanford. Commission on Aging, as mentioned earlier today, is hosting a breakfast, pancake, and eggs and Elvis in Armona on June 15th at 9 a.m. The 2022 Mega Mixer will be taking place Wednesday, June 15th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Civic Auditorium in Hanford. This will be a collaboration between the 4 local chamber commerces. The cost is $1 or a business card entry fee. There will be a flea market all day at Floyd Rice Park, located between Park and Monterey Streets and Avenel on June 17th, 2022. For upcoming agenda items, admin has 2 items. The Kettleman City Community Service District Water Treatment Plant item that was pulled today will be heard next week, and the fiscal year 22-23 recommended budget will be heard next week as well. Behavioral Health will have a consideration for a board letter requesting amendments to Care Court or SB 1338 for your board to consider. Probation has consideration for vehicle identification exemption request. Public Works will have 4 items now. Consideration for the purchase of replacement vehicle for probation department, consideration for the purchase of a dump truck, consideration for plans and specifications for the fiscal year 21-22 SB funded roadway improvements, and then of course the emergency or urgency ordinance from today. Finally, I would also like to announce that we did hear from our federal lobbyists on our 2 earmark requests, and Senator Padilla has requested $5 million in both of the county's projects be funded through his process. These are, I'm sorry, there's more than $5 million. There's the Kings County project for the Central Public Facility to support services for victims and their families of violence. Then there's the Armona Union Elementary School District. The project will improve recreational activities for families, youth, and children by revitalizing the Armona Union Elementary School District Recreation Park. Both of those are $5 million apiece. They did carry forward on Senator Padilla's platform. This is not a guarantee, but it's nice to see that they are moving forward and that we do have an option, or hopefully hope that we will get those 2 projects funded. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
$5 million for a park. I had a stick.
It shows.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. 5 million. Yeah. Parks are, look at the park that they're building in Corcoran.
That's very fancy, yeah.
Yeah. So their parks can be very expensive now, especially with climbing and some of the other walking paths, and when you start dealing with sports fields and it's pretty expensive. So, and even at the Pops concert on Sunday, where they had the ice rink in at the Civic with the Thursday night markets, that grass is pretty much dead. It just didn't have a chance to hook in, and there's some of these facilities just get used, daily, and if not weekly, most of the time, and daily at some times. And that new grass just didn't have a chance to hook in, and the hot weather and everything else. So
Well, I like that, they had the car show on Saturday, and the first time I've ever been to Hanford where they shut down a street. The 190 cars put on by the Carnegie, and that would have been on the grass. So maybe
Correct.
the city would allow them to do the street fairs every now and then and save that grass. So I know that used to always have the Renaissance Fair, and it was always destroyed after
Right.
that. So it's nice to have green grass, but it's also nice to have events too.
right. So we probably need to pass that on to the city of Hanford. And again, with the more abilities you have to access more facilities, takes kind of the burden off of some of that traffic. I know the Hanford has done a good job with the Bastille and adding that bandstand there and kind of cut down on some of the road closures. But road closures from time to time are just necessary, and like you say, to protect the grass. Anyone else? Do we forget anything coming up? Dusty, anything? Farm Bureau's good? Everything's moving, ready, forward? Yeah, exactly. And you have the young farmers and ranchers group fired back up? So good. Good. I want to thank the Kings County Grand Jury for being here. Appreciate that. It's always a pleasure. Sheriff, congratulations on the new building. Sorry we missed it. We were still eating breakfast burritos and still counting. We were doing an audit on the 10 million steps because Jay Salyer was one of those individuals. And my granddaughter taught me this. If you do this enough, you get a lot of steps. So good. And thank you for that project as well. I know it's been a long time in the works and so congratulations on that. Nathan, anything? You're good? Any graduations? None. So all of them just progress to the next year, unless it's like Doug. The problem, yeah, and I wasn't aware of it, in Virginia, I always tease my grandson of going to high school for 5 years. High school in Virginia is 5 years. So there was no teasing on it. He couldn't figure out why I was teasing him. So you got to know where you're at to figure that out. So yeah, eighth grade through 12 ends up going to high school. So their junior high is a little bit different. So he did spend 5 years in high school, unlike Doug, who spent 5 years in high school.
I got out in 4 years, and only because my mom refused to sit with me in classroom and teachers couldn't handle me that year.
So congratulations to all of the different graduates. I think every school, whether they progressed from one class to the next or hit that milestone of junior high to high school to college, just want to thank everyone. I think everyone had a safe time and everyone did a great job. And even with the COVID numbers and some of the testing, hospitalizations are still down. So maybe next week we should add that to the agenda for an update. Some of those numbers continue to uptick a little bit, so maybe we should add that to the list to add on. The board will now move into closed session to take up 3 items, personnel matter regarding the Human Resources Director, workers' comp, 1 case, and then also Leprino versus Kings County. And any reporting out will take place next week on June 14th, Flag Day. Jim, you have something? Yes. Well, come up to the mic because they yell at me if I don't have you on the mic. So I'll let some people do it, but I know it.
I'd just like to thank the board for their vision and forethought of saving the old hospital and retooling it and going to make a good use of it. I was just out in the hallway looking at the drawings. It's very, very impressive. I think it'll be impressive for our whole community. One other thing is the price of doing business sometimes costs you a little extra money. The city spent about $380,000 for that ice rink for an 8-week run. There was no plan what to happen after that ice rink left. They threw in winter rye. It greened up really well for about a few weeks, a month maybe, and then it died. So I'm on the Parks and Recreation Commission for the city. There was no plan for once they pulled the ice rink up and it's a park. And I heard a comment that I just felt like I needed to say this. I feel like the price of doing business would have been to lift the ice rink and to re-turf it or to lay grass back in there. And it's the price of doing business to me. $380,000, a couple extra $1,000 to put turf back in there so we have a park. If you're at the Pops concert, I assume you were, you saw what happened. That's like a muddy quagmire and they had to move in close up to the steps. And I just feel like 8 weeks of an ice rink is not worth sacrificing 10 months of a park. And so if you have conversations with the city, I think that's the direction I would hope that it would eventually go in. They were talking about cementing that in, and I just think there's enough cement in that park already. It's the historic calling card for downtown Hanford, and it should look like the downtown park in Paso Robles or the downtown park in Healdsburg or the downtown park in any of these places that you visit. It should be special. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you guys for really, seriously, I started my career with the county in that hospital. And so it really does my heart good to see that you guys have maintained it and are going to make it what it's going to look like. Thank you very much. Thank you.
They removed all the windows and you can peer inside a little bit. I think everything else has been cleaned up. So, man, be careful with the sheriff. He's kind of fragile. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for years of service to the county. Appreciate it. And thank you for your words of wisdom. And yeah, no, there was some of the discussion Sunday night about the lawn and yeah. Do you put turf? No, then it gets too hot. You just, like you say, do do you roll turf out there and put it, or do you put artificial turf and put up with the heat, or you do, yeah, but, oh, it'll be a convection oven. Correct. Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, that's just what happens in the valley. So thank you. Yep. With that, we're going to move into closed session, take up those 3 items that we outlined, and then we will adjourn out of that meeting to our next regular scheduled meeting on Tuesday, June 14th. I also want to bring your attention that the California Public Finance Authority meeting will take place at 11 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. Please have a safe trip home, and we will see you on the 14th.